All right, good morning. My name is Lexi Reynolds, and on behalf of Stratus10 and AWS, I want to welcome you to the final live webinar in the AWS Cost Optimization webinar series. As everyone is getting settled in, a few housekeeping items. I've placed all attendees in listen-only mode, but we do have time set aside at the end of the presentation to answer questions. I encourage you to submit your questions to the presenters throughout the broadcast using the webinar control panel chat function. We will also be recording today's session, and we'll send you a link and a copy of the slides by email tomorrow for you to share with your colleagues. I will gladly take this time to introduce today's presenters. I am proud to introduce co-founder and CTO at Stratus10, Kevin RisonChu, as well as Jignesh Suthar from AWS. I'm going to run over a quick agenda. Today we will be starting with a guide to AWS Savings Plans, followed by AWS Reserved Instances from Kevin at Stratus10. Then we're going to give it to Jignesh for cost savings for Windows Workloads at AWS. We will have time set aside at the end of the event for questions. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Kevin, and thank you guys again for joining.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. And hopefully you'll find what we have to talk about today very informative and helpful. So my name is Kevin RisonChu. I am the CTO for Stratus10, as Lexi mentioned. And first off, we're going to cover savings plans. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Savings Plan. It's a relatively new product. You probably have heard of reserved instances, which we'll dive into a little bit after that. But let's go ahead and dive in to what savings plans are and what approaches it will solve for you. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to cover in this first segment is what are savings plans, how do they work, the types and benefits of the savings plans, how you get started, and then how they compare to reserved instances. We'll give you a couple of examples as well. Okay. So you'll be very happy to learn about this is much easier savings plan model created, which was based on customer feedback. So what is a savings plan? Savings plan is basically a flexible pricing model that allows you to lower your prices on EC2 and Fargate usage in exchange for committing to a consistent amount of usage. So something like $1 amount per hour, $10 an hour, or something like that. Customers simply commit to a consistent amount of hourly compute spending over a 1 or 3 year period, and in exchange they receive a discount. So how does a savings plan work? Well, every type of compute usage has an on-demand rate and a savings plan rate. So if you commit to 10 hours of compute usage, then you'll get a savings plan price for all usage up to that $10 at the savings plan rate. And then any usage beyond the compute spend commitment will be charged at the regular on-demand rate. So if you're familiar with reserved instances, savings plans allows for that same discount as RIs, but gives you greater flexibility. So let's talk about how the commitment is calculated. Okay, so here's an example of the hourly committed is calculated. When you purchase a savings plan, you are making an hourly monetary commitment for the term of the savings plan. So if you're committing to $10 an hour of compute usage, savings plan price will be automatically applied to all your usage up to the $10. Any usage beyond that commitment will be charged at the regular on-demand rate. So savings plans purchase recommendation tool within the AWS Cost Explorer provides you with a recommended commitment that will maximize your savings. The hourly financial commitment for a specific savings plans cannot be changed or modified for the term of the plan. If after analyzing the usage, an increased commitment is desired, you can always purchase additional savings plans to cover the excess usage. Okay, So now that we understand how they're metered, let's explore some of their benefits. So what are the benefits of a savings plan? While customers love the deep benefits and discounts provided by RIs, they've also asked to be more flexible pricing model that they can still save money while taking advantage of a broader selection of compute options offered by AWS. And they wanted a model that continues to offer them discounts even if their compute needs change, and to keep up with their ever-changing dynamic environments without incurring additional management overhead. So savings plans have been designed from the ground up to address this feedback for the customer and provide more flexibility. Okay. AWS offers two kinds of savings plans. There is the EC2 Instance Savings Plan and the Compute Savings Plan. So EC2 Compute Savings Plans provides the deepest discounts, but in exchange for a commitment to usage of individual instance families in a region. So you're committing to a consistent level of, say, M5 usage in North Virginia. This automatically provides you with a discount of up to 72% off the on-demand price for that selected instance family in that region, regardless of AZ, availability zone, size, OS, or tenancy. Okay. EC2 Instance Savings Plans allows you to change your usage between the instances within the family in that region. So for example, if you're going from a C5X large running Windows to a C5-2X large running Linux, the automatic benefit for the savings, you automatically benefit from the savings plan price. A large reserved instance customer with global footprint will have multiple EC2 savings plans, such as C5 in EU in one plan and a P3 in US West in another plan. Okay. While a compute savings plan provides the greatest flexibility and helps reduce usage costs by up to 66%. So these plans automatically apply to EC2 instances, regardless of the instance family, size, AZ, region, OS, or tenancy, and also includes Fargate. And more recently, I believe they started adding some other compute options within here. So for example, with a compute savings plan, you can now switch from a C4 to an M5, shift your workload from EU to London, or EU Ireland to EU London, or even move a workload from EC2 to Fargate at any time and automatically continue to receive your discounts. Okay, savings plan is the easiest way to save on compute. You can sign up for savings plan in just a few steps using AWS Cost Explorer. So let's take a look at these steps in detail. You can leverage savings plan recommendations in AWS Cost Management Console to understand the savings opportunities available to you. So opening up the Cost Management Console and then clicking on the recommendations under Savings Plans, here's an example of a savings plan dashboard. You can customize them using parameters shown to you for your purchase recommendations. Options include recommended options for savings plan type or compute. You choose compute or AWS EC2 instance. Savings plan terms, where you can commit your commitment in years for a 1 year or 3 year. Payment options, where you can choose all upfront, partial upfront, or no upfront, very similar to reserved instances. And it's based on the past. So these recommendations are based on your 7-day, 30-day, or 60-day usage. You can download your savings plan recommendations in CSV format and then view later on. Okay, based on the parameters you select, you'll receive customized recommendations. You can select the desired savings plan from the recommendation list and add the plans to your cart and execute the purchase directly from the cart. Savings plans can be purchased through the console or API CLI or bulk orders by contacting the support team via the support center and raising a case. Once purchased, savings plans automatically apply to your usage and you're billed at a discounted savings plan rate up to the committed level. You can view the savings plan you own from the inventory and use the coverage and utilization report tools to understand how the plans are being applied for your usage. You can purchase additional savings plans on top of your existing savings plan if you have a steady state usage increase. And then savings plan inventory, performance reports, and coverage reports provide you with that additional information to track and manage your savings plans. Okay, so how can you use savings plan, or how does a savings plan compare to a reserved instance? Well, savings plans offer you the same deep discounts as EC2 RIs, but with the flexibility of making a simple monetary commitment instead of making commitments for a specific instance configuration. You can continue purchasing RIs to maintain compatibility with your existing cost management process, and your RIs will work alongside savings plan to reduce the overall bill. However, as your RIs expire, you should look to sign up for savings plan to reduce your bills with little management overhead. Just like RIs or regional RIs, you can reserve EC2 capacity with on-demand capacity reservations. If you have active savings plans, your usage will be charged at the savings plan rate. So please remember that spot usage, though, is not covered by RIs or savings plans because it separates instance purchase it's a separate instance purchase option. Okay. RIs, regional RIs apply to any unused on-demand capacity reservations, and both EC2 and savings plan and compute savings plan apply to running instances first and then to the unused on-demand capacity reservations. So the logic here, application logic, if you have both pricing models, the reserved RIs and the savings plan. So zonal reserved instances apply to accounts that owns itself. So if the RI hours are left, then it's applied to the rest of the organization. Non-size flexible regional RIs, for those for Windows, for example, apply to matching usage on the account that it owns first, and then if anything is left, rolls over to the rest of the organization. Size flexible regional RIs applies to the account that it's owned first, smallest account instance within the family first, and then goes up into the larger instances before going to the rest of the organization. Regional RIs apply to any unused on-demand capacity. EC2 instance savings plans apply to the account that it was purchased first, starting with the usage that results in the highest discount and then rolls down to usage with the least discount. Compute savings plans applies within the account that is purchased and then starting with the usage that will result in the highest discount before rolling down to usage with lower discounts. And lastly, both EC2 instance savings plan and compute savings plans applies to running instances first and then to unused on-demand capacity reservations. Okay. Oh yeah, sorry about that. So this is how we'll visualize the way discounts are applied. So if you take a look here, the difference between how the RIs are applied and then the savings plans are applied. And then let's say you have a steady workload that runs 24/7, so you can benefit from the EC2 instance savings plan. We have $120 per hour of on-demand, but you committed to $90 an hour savings plan. We'll see the benefit from the 25% compared to the on-demand. Okay, another situation is, let's say only parts of your workload is steady and we only want to cover the portion of the usage with savings plan. From the previous example, 25% will apply to the portion of the usage. that is covered with the savings plan, and then the remainder of the usage is charged at the on-demand. Okay, so savings plan, just to recap, savings plan is the new pricing model that gives you significant savings, just like EC2 RIs in exchange for monetary commitment for 1 or 3 year. And again, there's 2 types of savings plans. The first is compute, which is applicable across EC2, Fargate, while the compute savings plan does offer discounts regardless of region, instance, family, size, tenancy, and OS. The savings plan for EC2 instances is applicable on a single EC2 instance in a single region, but offers the discounts as standard RIs. Okay. All righty. And then if you have additional, I can share you the additional links later. Let's switch over real fast to the cost optimization reserved instances. Okay, so earlier we touched on the newer savings plan type model. Now we're going to touch on the traditional reserved instances that most everybody is familiar with, or hopefully is familiar with. Agenda within this one will be RIs and their benefits, what RIs do and how they're priced, how their attributes are concerned, the types, modifications, and exchanges, and then also recommendations, RI recommendations that are available within Cost Explorer. Okay, so what are RIs? RIs is basically a payment subscription that lowers your costs. RIs are not physical instances. It's just basically a billing discount that's applied to a running resource on your account. So let's say you're running 100 EC2 instances of a specific type and OS in a region. You purchase 50 RI subscriptions for that same instance type, and then each hour the system will check how many RIs you have, and then how many matching instances you are running, and then apply the discount automatically. You commit to a 1 or 3 year term and will be required to pay for the whole term of the reserved instance, even if you stop the instance or it doesn't apply to any running instances that you have anymore. So to make this analogy a little bit clearer, you're basically, if you decide to buy a gym membership, for example, and you do a pay 1 year upfront, or you pay once a month via debit card, et cetera, for a 12-month period. Regardless of whether or not you visit the gym, you still have to pay that full 12-month membership fee. So the more you go to the gym, the more you save compared to the price you would pay for each visit. And if you decide to stop using the gym, you start to lose money because you've paid as part of your subscription. Okay, so while paying for your instances on demand has its benefits, such as being able to pay for what you use, shutting down your instances, and stop paying them when you're not using them, which is suitable for workloads that isn't steady and doesn't require you to need running resources for 24/7. Reserved instances offer significant cost savings if you are ready to commit to using a specific EC2 instance type for a period of time. Okay, basically the benefits are you get to save money, gives you a little bit of flexibility in that if your requirements do change and you need to migrate to a different instance family, you can utilize the convertible reserved instances to change such attributes like instance type, family, OS, etc., while still benefiting from the RI pricing. And then lastly is that reserve capacity. So RI is purchased with zonal scope. So we'll touch on this a little bit later, but it allows you the ability to launch a number of instances that you've reserved when you need them within an account in a specific AZ, even when capacity has been exceeded for the general on-demand or spot instance. Okay, the reserve instance pricing is determined by the following key variables, and we'll dig into this throughout the presentation. But it's instance attribute, which is the instance type, talking about your family and size, the scope, talking about the region or availability zone, your tenancy, either shared or dedicated, and then the platform or your OS. Okay. The attributes also determine how the reserved instance is applied to a running instance in your account. Your term commitments, 1 to 3 years, as we defined. Payment options, which is all upfront, partial upfront, or no upfront. And then the offering class. So you have your standard, which provides you with the most discount, but is a little bit more restrictive, or the convertible, which provides you a lower discount than the standard, but allows you to exchange to another convertible RI with a different instance attribute. Okay. So now let's talk about how RIs actually work. Let's take a minute and read through this slide and we'll discuss it afterwards. So let's say, looking at this example, if an availability zone is specified as one of the RI attributes, and EC2 reserved capacity matching that attribute of the RI in that availability zone, the capacity reservation of an RI is automatically utilized by running instances matching those attributes. You can also choose to forego the capacity reservation and purchase an RI that is scoped to a region. RIs scoped to a region automatically apply the discounts to usage across any AZ and matching the instance within a region, making it easier for you to take advantage of your RI discounted rates. Regional reserved instances have the following benefit, which is availability zone flexibility, and allowing the reserved instance discount applies to an instance usage in any of the availability zones within that region, and also instance size flexibility. So reserved instances discounts applies to instance usage regardless of size within that instance family. This is, however, only supported on Windows and Unix RIs with shared tenancy. Okay. So the main point to remember is that RI benefits apply automatically to matching usage within an account. Okay, so you've got, if you look at the diagram here, you've got a T2 on demand rate. You purchase an RI that matches the T2 instance. Your T2 instance is now running at a discounted rate, which is applied automatically. You purchase an RI for a C4 large, you're still running that T2 at the discounted rate. You're paying for the RI that you're not using. But if you launch the C4 large that matches that C4 large RI, then you would get the discounted rate for both. Okay. So hopefully everybody's familiar with what an instance family and generation is. Basically the like M class family, or C class, or R class for memory, etc. And then the generation or the size is the X large, large, double X large, etc. So regional RIs with shared default tenancy purchased for unlicensed Linux and Unix platforms are also flexible. Size flexibility does not apply, however, to Windows, Red Hat, Enterprise Linux, or SUSE platforms due to licensing requirements from the OS vendor. For example, if you have an M4 X large RI, it can apply to a 2X M4 X large running instances, but it also works the other way, where it can apply to half of the M4 2X large. Okay. A little bit later, we'll have Jignesh talk about how to save specifically with Windows instances. Okay, so which types of RIs offers the greatest discounts to you? So typically, moving across this slide from left to right, we'll see the biggest discounts. RIs with longer term commitments and greater payment upfront will typically result in the greatest discounts. So a quick note on the payment options. The no upfront when you select that, you're billed at a discounted hourly rate for every hour within the term, regardless of whether the RI instance is actually being used. And no upfront payment is required for you. So this keeps your cash flow quite fluid. Whereas a partial upfront, you're paying for a portion of that cost upfront, and then the remainder of the hours is of the term is then billed to you at an hourly discount, regardless of whether or not the instance is used. And then the all upfront, you're making full payment at the start of the term with no additional costs or hourly charge will occur for the remainder of the term, regardless of the hours used. Depending on your requirements, you can choose to save more by paying for the RI fully upfront, or save less but spreading the RI cost throughout the term in case you have a specific budgeting requirement. Keep in mind also that any additional EC2 charges, such as EBS volumes, etc., you will still pay the hourly rate. Those are not covered by these RIs. It's just these 2 hours. Let's look at standard RIs versus convertible RIs. Standard RIs provide the most significant discount over on-demand and are best suited for a very steady state usage. Convertible RIs, however, still provide you with a discount, pretty significant discount, but it gives you the capabilities to change the attributes of that RI for as long as the conversion results in the creation of another RI of equal or greater value. So your target RI can either cost the same or be more expensive, such as you can't move from a C5 X large to a single T2 micro. The system will prompt you to buy additional T2 micros to cover the difference in costs. However, the conversion or modification of an RI can be done within the same region only. Okay, so let's say you would use, when you would use standard and when would you use a convertible RI. So it depends on your workload, your plans for any change, your budget requirements, and the commitment of cost savings opportunity. So if you're not sure about your future strategy, or you might migrate to a different instance type, consider using a convertible RI. But if you're certain that your workload will be steady and will not change for a period of time, then your best candidate is to use a standard RI. Okay, so looking at the comparisons here, both can be purchased for 1 to 3 year commitments. Regional RIs provide AZ and instance flexibility. Again, only applies to Linux and Unix with shared tenancy. Both types of RIs, RIs purchased in a specific AZ capability, or regional RIs do not have reserved capabilities. Some attributes can be modified throughout the term, such as AZ or scope, moving RIs between AZs within a region. However, the region cannot change. While there's no need to modify your instance type in a standard Linux or Unix RI when they're size flexible, you may need to resize your Windows, Red Hat, or SUSE running instances. And for that, you need the convertible RIs in order to make that attribute change. Only convertible RIs can be exchanged, or aka converted. We'll talk about that briefly in the next slide. And you can purchase standard RIs from other sellers on the RI marketplace or for a different term. And you can also sell your standard RIs on the RI marketplace if you no longer need them. Okay, so we spoke about some common characteristics of the standard and convertible RIs. Now let's take a look, point out the major differences and the benefits of the convertible RI, as it is more flexible than the standard. So if your plans change in your workload, and if your requirements might change over time, you should consider a convertible RI, since they allow you to exchange or convert your instance family, OS, tenancy, and even payment options. So example, if you decide to migrate part of your workload to newer generation instances, you could split your convertible RIs into few parts and exchange a portion of your reservation to cover those new instances. Okay. Next up, we'll cover and discuss how common scenarios when you may need to modify certain attributes of your RIs, in which case you may need to use the convertible RI. So let's look at take a look at a first example. So let's say you are migrating an application to AWS and you want to ensure that you have the greatest confidence in capacity reservation for resources in a specific AZ in your account. So you purchase zonal RIs. But now your application is up and running and you know requirements for your workload and you no longer need capacity reservations. So you like to focus on cost savings opportunities. In this scenario, you can modify features to change the scope of your RIs from zonal to regional. Okay, let's say you have always used M3 instance family and generation, and it's been serving its purpose for years. However, the requirements of the business have changed, and you now need to start utilizing newer generational instance in dev environments to benefit from features and better performance of the new M5 generation, and test it for future migration of your production workloads too. Here, you would benefit from having a convertible reservation, as you can exchange your instance types into M5. This is not possible with standard RI. Okay. Third example would be, let's consider the previous example, but let's assume that in addition to the migrating part of your workload from M4 or M3 to M5, you also stop using Red Hat and start using Amazon Linux. So let's say you had 100 instances reserved for different M3 sizes purchased with Red Hat platform. However, you don't need 50 of those RIs anymore. In this case, you could modify the feature to split the reservation into several parts and then use exchange feature to only convert the portion of the RIs into the new generation M5 and different platform to fulfill your requirements and ensure the migration is also covered from the cost perspective. Okay. So hopefully everyone's familiar with Cost Explorer by now. But Cost Explorer is basically a free data visualization tool that allows you to look at your account and see it's visualize the cost that's going on. So there is a section in here for RI recommendations. It is available from the payer and linked accounts. However, payer accounts must allow linked accounts to view Cost Explorer and RI recommendations before you can use it. It does cover EC2, RDS, Elasticsearch, Elasticache, and Redshift. Okay, Cost Explorer doesn't forecast your usage or take forecasting into account when recommending your RIs. So Cost Explorer only assumes your historic usage reflected as your future usage when it makes a determination of the RI recommendations. Okay, similar to EC2, other services that also have reservation models. However, unlike EC2, they don't offer an option with capacity reservation, at least not yet. So some RDS platforms do offer flexible size flexibility. These services, however, don't offer modification features at this time, so it's often recommended to buy RIs in 1-year terms, as commitment to the same platform and hardware for 3 years is not always suitable for you. Similar to EC2 though, the system checks your running instances, nodes, each hour, matches them to your active reservations and applies the discounts automatically. RI recommendations as well as RI reporting options are available within Cost Explorer for these other services. Okay, so quick summary, recap, what is an RI reservation and how it works, benefit, all the features that it has. You can choose by types and purchasing options. You can use the recommendation feature from within Cost Explorer. It gives you flexibility and modification. And then you have your options from within each of those, depending on what you need, which choice you should make for your reservations. Okay. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Jignesh to discuss savings options when working with Windows workloads.
Thank you, Kevin. That was an excellent overview of savings plans and reserved instances. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Not yet.
Okay. My Zoom is not able to maximize. It's not coming up. Okay. Share screen. Let me know if you are able to see my screen now.
No, not yet. Oh, it looks like it's starting up now. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let me start my PowerPoint. So hello everyone. Good morning and good afternoon based on where you are located. My name is Jignesh Suthar and I'm a solutions architect at AWS. So today I'm going to talk about cost savings for Windows workloads on AWS. I'm going to cover what options are available for cost savings, tools and techniques which are available, that can help you to optimize and save cost. So at AWS, we believe in a long-term retention and align our goals to be most customer obsessed company in the world through growth and reducing cost for our customers. Since inception of AWS in 2006, we have reduced cost on various AWS services over 70 times. Keeping that in mind, we wanted to ensure our customers pay for only what they use. Also, cost optimization is one of the pillars of well-architected framework which we have put together. Our customers, they have seen a significant cost reduction after moving their workloads to AWS. For example, GE has seen approximately 52% reduction in cost. Live Nation has seen about 58% cost reduction, and Intuit has seen close to say 40% reduction. But it doesn't just happen, right? Just by moving your workload to AWS cloud is not gonna help you to reduce the cost if you are using it just like any other data center. Unlike in a traditional IT infrastructure, cloud is elastic and do not need to be over provisioned and paid in advance. And even with a lot of flexibility and elasticity to manage cost, as time passes, things get built left and right too quickly, and we may not even realize that now we are paying equally or more than what we use. And given my past experience as a cloud consultant at one of the finance management company that I worked with, we have migrated all our workload to AWS, and we decided to turn off the lights in their old legacy data center. And everyone was very excited to take advantage of, the multiple AWS services to build, latest and greatest microservice, apps on AWS. But soon after moving to AWS cloud, after a few months, what we realize is our bills are way high, and we haven't done, a great job on housekeeping, our AWS accounts, not cleaning up, after uses and whatnot. So things can get too expensive if we are not taking enough actions or not automated to clean up our cloud resources. So the message here is it doesn't just happen. We need to take actions to keep cloud spending optimized. So how do we ensure we pay for only what we use? So let's explore some of the tools and techniques which can help you to achieve this goal. So when our customers, when they decide to migrate to the cloud and figure out the right migration strategy based on what kind of workloads they are trying to migrate, also this is a golden opportunity for them to consolidate and optimize various resources like compute, storage, and networking. While many people, they consider optimization as one of the phases, of the migration process, we believe it's a journey that starts from the very beginning when you start working on the migration planning and continues through the migration process and post migration into cloud. And I will talk about various opportunities you might get throughout this journey to apply multiple optimizations. So very first phase of the cloud journey is migration planning. And in this phase, basically you start working on discovering and assessing your existing workload, running on the on-premises data center. Due to the lack of, elasticity and flexibility of, spinning resources on demand, our customers, they end up over provisioning the resources to meet the peak demand in most of the cases. And these resources include, powerful servers with a very high CPU and memory, big hard drives, etc. So during the assessment phase, it's very, very essential to right size these resources, which can handle the usual demand and let the elasticity of the cloud take care of, the spikes in demand. This is the right time when you decommission outdated hardware and replace them with more performant and optimized compute and storage resources offered by AWS cloud. Also, you end up saving significant cost in licensing by consolidating that. You can identify and optimize various Microsoft licenses like Windows licenses or SQL Server licensing by reducing the future commitments to enterprise agreements and replacing enterprise editions of SQL Server with the standard edition if it's not needed. And here is an excellent example of one of our customers. They had a SQL Server workload close to 800K running on their on-premises data center. Now, if they had migrated that workload as is, using the direct match, they would have ended up spending 950K. But instead of that, they decided to use this opportunity to optimize it with the help of one of the tools, provided by AWS called Migration Evaluator. Formerly, recently we renamed it. Formerly, it was known as a TSology to right size that workload, and they ended up spending 650K. That is 150K less. And again, this is a real world example. So Migration Evaluator is probably your first tool when which you can use to optimize the cost while moving your workload to AWS cloud. The next phase in your cloud journey is when you have all your workload in cloud, and now you want to operate, stabilize, and optimize your workload. And once you are in cloud, it's a good idea to keep eye on your EC2 instance families and use the newest member of EC2 instance families to get better performance at a lower cost. A good example is, very recently we launched T4G instance type, which is powered by ARM-based AWS Graviton 2 processors. Believe me, if you spin small instance of T4G, it will cost you less than $10, right, per month. which is less than a couple of Starbucks coffee. So it's a good idea to provide, standardized configuration to your developers to make sure that they are always using the newest instance, in particular EC2 families, and you get better, price to performance ratio. Also, one of the significant, advantages of, the cloud is elasticity, which can help you to scale out and scale in quickly and to unleash, the full potential of elasticity. Try to replace a big, powerful, machines with smaller instances with license included, which can auto scale quickly. Also, suppose you are maintaining multiple development environments like dev environment, integration, and QA and whatnot. It's a good idea to implement CI/CD and turn off these environments after office hours if they are not needed, and spin them back early morning when your tech team needs them. And also we offer various EC2 purchasing options for different types of workload. Kevin has already discussed savings plans and reserve instances, so I'm not going to spend more time on it. But these two options, savings plan and reserve instances, can help you to reduce your cost. And at AWS, we offer, instead of providing one size fit all options, we offer a wide range of, purpose-built instances, so that not only you can pick the right one for your workload, but it also allows you to, quickly scale up if you see high demand in workload, or, you can scale down if you think you have over provisioned the compute resources for your, current workload. For example, for most of the database workloads, memory and IO are the key bottlenecks, and hence the most popular choices are memory-based instances like X, R, or Z, or the storage optimized instances like I3. We also offer a general purpose instances that are good for small or mid-sized databases and can help you to save some cost. But it's not easy task to find out the right EC2 instance type, right? As well as the size. Monitoring the performance of your current production workload and analyzing it on regular basis, it can be a time-consuming task. And that's the reason we decided to introduce AWS Compute Optimizer. It is a machine learning-based tool that analyzes CloudWatch metrics of your EC2 instances, and as well as auto scaling groups, and basically it generates recommendations to help users to choose the optimal instance type for their workloads. By default, it analyzes CPU, storage IO, and network IO utilization collected from CloudWatch, but you can also add additional metrics. And finally, it recommends optimal instances for EC2 and EC2 auto scaling groups. From 150 instances from M, C, R, T, and X families. So how it works, right? Behind the scene, it uses machine learning models that are trained on millions of workloads. And it analyzes the configuration, resource utilization, and performance data of your current workload to identify dozens of defining characteristics, such as whether the workload is CPU intensive, or it is a memory intensive or network bound, to find out a daily pattern. And then what it does, it uses the machine learning to process these characteristics to predict how the same workload would perform on various hardware platforms. And it offers you up to 3 recommendations. And excuse me, it provides a very simple to use dashboard, which you can use to monitor the health of your EC2 instances on regular basis. And if you find any issue, you can drill down further to analyze it and see the recommendations generated by the optimizer. So here, as you can see on screen, you can visually compare all the recommendations and pick the right one. And keep in mind, a performance fine-tuning and cost optimization, they go hand in hand. Optimizing cost and saving money is a good idea. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you are not under provisioning your resources and getting paged at midnight, right? So Compute Optimizer, it helps you to keep an eye on both the aspects. And basically it lets you know how much risk you are taking while saving money so that you can, make the right decision. You can use Compute Optimizer for any workload running on EC2, and it comes at no cost to our customers. And the next phase in cloud journey is measure and monitor. So once you stabilize your workload in the cloud, the next step is to keep eye on your resource utilizations. And we offer many tools and services that can help you to measure and monitor your workload by generating a very comprehensive reports. And these reports also include recommendations for optimization. And to take full advantage of these tools and reports, it's very, very essential to tag all your cloud resources appropriately so that you can categorize them and identify which resources are over provision or under provision. And tagging can help you to automate the identification of cost saving opportunities. So there are some of the most popular tags which we highly recommend to our customers. For example, tagging your cloud resources based on cost centers, like which resources are being used by HR department or sales or day ops. Also, you can tag them based on which applications are using those resources. So you can isolate your expensive workloads to analyze them and optimize them. Once you tag your resources, there are various tools offered by AWS as well as third parties which can help you to automatically identify various optimization opportunities, like which instances are always on, and either they are over provision or if they are always utilized at a constant rate. If that is the case, probably you can lower the cost by purchasing savings plans or reserve instances, which Kevin was talking about earlier. And also these tools can help you to keep eye on the licensing. And AWS, we offer tools like Trusted Advisor, which can help you. It can help you to recommendations on regular basis to optimize your resources. We offer a system manager. Basically, it gives you visibility and controls your resources by grouping them and allowing you to take actions on those groups with a few clicks. We offer AWS cost and usage reports. They contain very comprehensive set of cost and usage data available. You can also use a cost and usage report to publish your AWS billing reports to Amazon S3 bucket, and you can use them as input to different visualization tool. For an example, Amazon QuickSight, or if you like, you can also use third party like a Tableau, or as simple as a Microsoft Excel to visualize and analyze them. We also offer third party solutions like Cloudmize and Cloud Checker. I think in previous session we covered Cloud Checker, so I will not spend more time here. So the first tool is Trusted Advisor. You can see on screen, which is an online tool that provides you real-time guidance to help you provision your resources following AWS best practices. And basically, it helps you to optimize your AWS resources, increase security and performance, reduce your overall cost, and monitor service limits. And whether establishing new workflows or developing applications or part of ongoing improvement, take advantage of the recommendations provided by a Trusted Advisor on a regular basis to help keep your solutions provision optimally. I have seen many customers, they set the regular reminder to check the recommendations and the dashboard offered by Trusted Advisor. The next tool, I think Kevin, visited this tool during his presentation, is a Cost Explorer. It has easy to use interface that lets you visualize and understand, manage your AWS cost and uses over time. Only thing I want to highlight here is, as I mentioned before, it's very essential to tag your resources so that you can easily, filter your cost reports in Cost Explorer. And you can quickly understand, which application or which workload, require where you should put, your efforts to optimize them. So tagging is very important. And these are few examples of our customers optimize their AWS spending by using some of these tools. For an example, while migrating to the cloud, Tiger Spike was able to reduce their cost compared to their on-premises environment. And basically, they use Cost Explorer to continually monitoring their their cost. Fred Hutch increased their access to compute by using Spot instances, and they were able to accelerate time to insight for cancer research. And last one is Nubank. They use this Cloud Optimizer, which I talked about, to make most informed decisions about how to balance performance and cost when making updates to instances in their fleet. Now, once you measure your workload using these tools, as I mentioned, and before, and you figure it out how much compute power you need on a regular basis, you can take advantage of savings plan, which Kevin has covered in depth. So I will not go in details. Only thing I want to highlight here is these savings plans are also applicable for any Windows workloads. For example, if you decide to move Windows application into ECS by containerizing it and use Fargate, savings plan can help you to reduce your cost. Or say, for example, if you decide to host SQL Server on EC2, in that case too, savings plan can significantly help you to reduce the cost. Kevin has covered this too. Okay. Another opportunity to save cost is to turn off EC2 instances while you are not using them, right? If you have workloads running in non-production environments such as development or QA or testing, or as a matter of fact, non-mission critical workloads, right? Maybe you have resource constraint, or it's not a part of your operational processes to shut these resources down during the evenings or weekends or holidays. And you might be paying for every EC2 second an RDS hour of idle time. And AWS has made it easier to operationalize instance scheduling across all the accounts by providing a pre-built cloud formation based solution called AWS Instance Scheduler. And basically this AWS Instance Scheduler is very simple AWS provided solution that enables you to configure custom start and stop schedules for your EC2 and RDS instances. And the solution itself is very easy to deploy, and it can help you to reduce operational cost. This instance scheduling, it allows you to leverage the elasticity nature of the cloud and pay for only what you need. You can stop and start your EC2 and RDS instances automatically. When these instances are stopped, you no longer incur any hourly charges. In this graph, for example, you can see how elasticity is being leveraged over the weekend to reduce EC2 cost. And it takes minutes to hours to implement depending on environment size and complexity. Customer who uses this solution to shut their instances from Friday 6 a.m. to Monday 6 a.m. We have seen they saved up to 35% of their EC2 cost compared to running those instances on weekend. And these savings can be realized in minutes, and there is no commitment required. And here is how how to get started. First, you need to install AWS Instance Scheduler by downloading the CloudFormation template or by launching the solution into your AWS console via the link at the bottom of this slide. And we are going to share these slides after this session. So you get access to all these resources. And basically then it offers you a simple CLI interface which you can use to create schedule based on your business requirements. And behind the scene, it stores all the schedules in DynamoDB, and it implements all the scheduling using AWS Lambda. And also you can apply these schedules based on custom tags, right, to your non-production EC2 and RDS instances to be scheduled. And the last step in optimization journey is modernization. I would say it is the best and ultimate way to unleash, your cloud optimization on your cloud, spending. And as a part of modernization, you can refactor the architecture, right, and go for something modern like microservice architecture, or you can go serverless, or you can, containerize your applications, or you can replace old legacy databases with the new purpose-built databases, which can give you better, price to performance ratio. And with modernization, you can refactor your legacy technology platform and embrace, a modern microservice architecture, which can help you to take full advantage of, cloud elasticity. So you only pay for what you use and not pay anymore. You can scale out and, in a few minutes, if not seconds, and scale in at the same speed. And you can quickly shut down your resources. And two of the best ways to implement microservices are using serverless Lambda, or you can containerize your Windows applications and use Fargate and either ECS as an orchestrator or EKS as an orchestrator. And you can also modernize your legacy databases like SQL Server or Oracle, which are like kind of a one-size-fits-all solutions. And instead of that, it's better to go for purpose-built databases like a DynamoDB for web applications or e-commerce system for low latency. Or you can go for Elastic Cache for in-memory cache for performance boost. Or you can go for DocumentDB for content management. And as I mentioned before, because these databases are built for specific use cases, you get much higher performance to price ratio. And all these databases are fully managed and serverless. So you don't need to maintain any staff for server provisioning, patching, or taking backups, or you don't need to worry about high availability or disaster recovery. And also you don't need to buy any license or sign any enterprise agreement. So it can help you to consolidate and optimize licensing cost, which you are paying for the traditional databases. And just like going for serverless option for your application or for your databases by replacing your traditional databases with the purpose-built databases, you can also take advantage of cloud native storages, right? Like S3 or Elastic Block Storage or Elastic file system or FSx storage. For example, if you are looking for high availability and disaster recovery for your SQL Server, normally you need to go for enterprise edition. But with the FSx, you can achieve a similar HA and DR by using the standard edition, and it can save significantly on your licensing cost. Also, when you start modernizing your application, it's a good idea to look at the cloud native managed services offered by AWS for various phases of your application development lifecycle, like a development or deployment or QA or implementing CI/CD. And all these services are serverless and can help you to significantly optimize your spending. You don't need to maintain any staff to manage any of these services. So in nutshell, cost optimization is not a project. It's not a one-time job, but it's a process. And AWS, we offer all kind of tools and services so that which you can use to implement it throughout your cloud journey. So that's all about cost optimization for Windows workload on AWS. Let me know if you have any questions.
So we can actually open the floor for questions now at this time. I do see a few in our chat.
Okay, let me check the chat.
Kevin, feel free to hop in here.
Yeah, a question was asked around savings plan and if Kinesis was covered. Currently, Compute Savings Plans only covers EC2 Fargate and Lambda. There was a question around how do reserved instances in AWS float across accounts? So we kind of touched on that briefly, where based on linked accounts, if you purchase the reservation in one account, but that account has no instance usage within a given hour on that account, the utilization is then passed to one of the other linked accounts when there is consolidated billing enabled. Let's see. What to do if there's, what if I don't need an instance type anymore? So if you are using reserved instances, then you have the option of selling it on Marketplace if it's a standard reservation, or converting it if you have the convertible instance. If you have the savings plan, the general compute savings plan, then there's no action needed by you. You'll automatically benefit from the discounted pricing. Savings plan and forecasting your spend. Savings plan recommendations are not based on your forecasted spend. It is based on your historic spend. And you can choose between 7, 30, or 60-day. But again, it is based on your historic spend, on-demand spend. I think that's it. I think that covers all the questions. All righty. That's it. No other questions. We can go ahead and end today's webinar. Thank you very much, Jignesh, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for
Lexi.
having me.
I did just want to invite everyone to learn more about our cost reduction program, or our pre-migration cost assessment. You can head to these URLs, and I will also send more information as a follow-up when I send the recording of today's live event. Thank you guys for joining the cost optimization webinar series. And please let us know if you have any questions again. All right.